如果你在聆听时不需要频繁暂停就能理解大意，那么你的英语积累在日常表达中是完全够用的。像学母语一样学英语，我们开始吧。
Over 100 years ago in Japan, a young American Navy soldier named Pinkerton arrived in the port city of Nagasaki. His ship was staying for a while. Pinkerton liked new adventures and wanted to enjoy his time. He asked a local man who arranged such things, named Goro, to help him find a pretty little house on a hill with a view of the sea. Goro found him the house, and also helped arrange for him to marry a young Japanese woman who could be his companion during his stay. Pinkerton thought this sounded like a pleasant way to pass the time in a new country. Pinkerton's friend Sharpless, an important American official living in Nagasaki, came to visit the new house. Sharpless was older and understood more about the world and different customs. When he heard about the marriage Goro was arranging, he felt a little concerned. "Pinkerton," Sharpless said gently. "This young Japanese woman, she might take this marriage very seriously. Her heart might truly be involved. Be careful not to cause great sadness." Pinkerton laughed. He was young and didn't think too much about such things. He spoke of enjoying life and freedom wherever he went, like a sailor in every port. He didn't seem to fully grasp Sharpless's worry. Soon, the young woman arrived for the wedding. Her name was Chiyo-san, but she was often called Butterfly because she was so small and lovely, like a delicate butterfly. She was only 15 years old. She came with her friends, all dressed in pretty kimonos, looking shy but her eyes shining with happiness. Butterfly told Pinkerton and Sharpless that her family had once been important, but they had lost their wealth, and she had to work to survive. She said she was very happy to marry Pinkerton. From the moment she saw him, she loved him with all her young heart. She even secretly changed her religion to be like his, a very big step for her, showing how much she wanted to be part of his world. They had a wedding ceremony, in the Japanese style, right there at the little house. Butterfly showed Pinkerton her few special possessions, some silk scarves, a little mirror. She also had a long, sharp dagger that had belonged to her father. She held it carefully, saying it was important to her family. The wedding was happy, until Butterfly's uncle, an angry monk, a holy man of her family's faith, suddenly rushed in. He shouted at Butterfly, furious because she had abandoned her ancestral religion for Pinkerton's. He declared she was a disgrace and cursed her. All her relatives who were present became scared and angry too. They all turned their backs on Butterfly and said she was no longer part of their family. Butterfly was terribly sad and frightened. She cried. Pinkerton held her close and comforted her. He told her not to worry, that he was there for her. He said he loved her. They sang a beautiful song together as the stars appeared. Butterfly believed every word he said. She thought they would be happy forever. That night, she felt like the luckiest, most loved young woman in the world. 3 years passed. Not long after their wedding, Pinkerton's Navy ship had to leave Japan. He had promised Butterfly he would return. "I'll come back when the robins nest again," he had said, holding her. Butterfly held on to that promise with all her heart. She lived in the little house on the hill with her faithful attendant, Suzuki. But now, they were very poor. Pinkerton had not sent much money, and it had run out. Suzuki often prayed to her Japanese gods for help, and she worried deeply that Pinkerton would never come back, that he had forgotten them. But Butterfly never stopped believing. "Oh, Suzuki," she would say, her eyes bright with hope. "One fine day we will see a puff of smoke on the far sea. Then a ship will appear. It will be his ship. He will come back to me." She vividly imagined him climbing the hill, calling her name, just as he used to. She lived for that hope, every single day. The marriage broker, Goro, kept visiting. He told Butterfly that in Japan, when a husband leaves and doesn't send word for so long, it means the marriage is over. He said Pinkerton would not return. He told her she should marry someone else. He even brought a rich prince named Yamadori to ask Butterfly to marry him. The prince offered her a life of comfort and many fine things, but Butterfly refused firmly. She showed them her hand, as if showing an American wedding ring. "In America," she said proudly, "a wife is not divorced so easily. I am still Pinkerton's wife." She believed this with unwavering conviction. One day, Pinkerton's friend Sharpless, the American official, came to visit. He looked very grave and sad. He had a letter from Pinkerton. Butterfly was overcome with excitement. "He is coming back," she cried. "Is he well? When will he be here?" She asked so many questions, her words tumbling out, that Sharpless could hardly speak. Sharpless tried to read the letter, but it was very difficult for him. The letter did not say what Butterfly hoped. It suggested Pinkerton was indeed coming to Japan, but Sharpless felt deep pity for Butterfly. He tried to gently suggest that perhaps Pinkerton had different plans now, that maybe he would not come back to live with her as her husband. "What would you do?" Sharpless asked softly, his voice full of sorrow, "if he never came back to you as your husband?" Butterfly looked at him, her eyes wide with a sudden pain. "If he does not come back," she said, her voice low but firm, "I would rather die." Then, seeing the disbelief or pity in Sharpless's eyes, she did something that made his heart ache even more. She ran into another room and returned, holding a little boy in her arms. The boy had beautiful golden hair and bright blue eyes, just like Pinkerton. "This is his son," Butterfly said, her face a mix of desperate love and fragile hope. "His name is Sorrow. But when his father comes back and sees him, we will call him Joy." Sharpless was deeply moved and very sad. He had not known about the child. He promised he would tell Pinkerton. Just then, a loud boom echoed from the harbor, a cannon shot. Suzuki ran in, shouting with excitement. A ship was arriving. They looked through a telescope. Butterfly's hands trembled. It was Pinkerton's ship, the Abraham Lincoln. Butterfly was wild with joy. "He's back! He's back!" she sang. Her long, faithful wait was finally over. She and Suzuki gathered all the flowers from their little garden, cherry blossoms, lilies, violets, and decorated the entire house until it was like a bower of flowers, a beautiful welcome for her love. Butterfly put on her wedding kimono, the one she wore when she married Pinkerton. She helped her little boy, Sorrow, get dressed nicely too. Then, she, Suzuki, and the little boy sat very still by a screen, with little holes poked in it, to watch for Pinkerton to climb the hill, just as she had dreamed for 3 long years. They waited all through the night, their hearts full of hope. The next morning the sun rose. Butterfly was still waiting. She had not moved all night. Little Sorrow was asleep in her arms, and Suzuki was asleep beside her, exhausted. Suzuki woke up and saw how pale and tired Butterfly looked. She gently urged Butterfly to go and rest, promising to call her the very instant Pinkerton came. Butterfly, finally overcome with fatigue, agreed and went into her room with her child. Soon Sharpless arrived at the little house, and with him were Pinkerton and another woman, a kind-looking American named Kate. Suzuki saw them and her heart froze. She understood immediately. Kate was Pinkerton's new American wife. Pinkerton looked around the house, so beautifully filled with flowers. He saw how faithfully Butterfly had waited. A terrible sadness and a deep shame filled his heart. "Oh, this house of flowers," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "Goodbye. Happy days that are gone." He knew he had done a very, very wrong thing, a cruel thing. He felt like a coward and found he could not face Butterfly. He asked Sharpless and Kate to explain everything to her, and then, overwhelmed, he fled from the house. Kate was a gentle woman. She spoke softly to Suzuki, saying she was very sorry for the pain they were causing. She said if Butterfly would allow it, she would take the little boy and raise him as her own son in America, with great care and love. Just then, Butterfly came out of her room. She was looking for Pinkerton, her eyes still shining with anticipation. But then she saw Kate. She saw Sharpless's somber, pitying face. She saw Suzuki weeping silently. Slowly, the terrible truth dawned on her. "Is he alive?" she asked Suzuki, her voice a tiny, trembling whisper. "Yes," Suzuki said, unable to meet her eyes. Butterfly looked at Kate. Her voice was very quiet. "You are his wife?" Kate nodded sadly, her own eyes full of compassion. Butterfly's heart felt as if it had shattered into a million pieces. All her dreams, all her patient hope, were gone in that one moment. But she stood very tall, with a strange, terrible dignity. She said she would give her son to Pinkerton, but only if Pinkerton himself came to get him in half an hour. She told Suzuki to take Kate and Sharpless away. She wished to be alone with her son for a little while. When they were gone, Butterfly took her son in her arms. She hugged him very, very tight, and kissed his golden hair, his little hands, his sleeping eyes. "You, my little love," she whispered, tears finally streaming down her face, hot and silent. "You must go away and be happy across the sea, but do not ever forget your poor mother Butterfly." She gently blindfolded him with a silk scarf, so he would not see what she was about to do. She gave him a little doll and a small American flag to play with, telling him to be a good boy. Then she took the long, sharp dagger that had belonged to her father. On its blade were written ancient words, "To die with honor, when one can no longer live with honor." She went behind a screen, her face pale but very calm. Just then, Pinkerton, overcome with regret and a terrible fear, rushed back into the house, calling her name desperately, "Butterfly! Butterfly!" But it was too late. Butterfly had used the dagger. She emerged from behind the screen, her white kimono stained with red. She pointed weakly towards her son, and then fell to the floor. Pinkerton and Sharpless could only watch in horror as the young woman called Butterfly, who had loved so much, hoped so much, and waited so faithfully, closed her eyes for the last time.
作为一个母语非英语的人，能把故事听完，你的进步太大了。感谢你收看这个节目，如果你觉得这个节目对你有帮助，请给我一个点赞或者留下评论，这对我很重要。这里是像学母语一样学英语频道，我们下个视频见。